what I think like everyone had a 20-point scorer on it. Like that's absurd.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be
I gotta
shocked.
stop using the word absurd. I keep spamming that word, but it really is.
It's
That team is
absurd, bro.
truly incredible. It's
It's
absurd,
truly
bro.
absurd.
It's absurd.
What's up, boys? Welcome back to episode 3 of the Rust Bucket Central podcast. It's your host, Tyler Ron, and
Oh, Bradley Boudreaux.
back
My bad.
again.
I didn't know you were setting me up for the oop, man. I'm sorry. I didn't slam that hoe down. My bad.
Pretty much live reaction about as of an hour ago. Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. Um,
Hate to see it. Just
Oilers.
wanted to say that real quick.
eh, All I have to say is Edmonton played nervous. They did exactly what they did in Game 7 last year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, last year there was a minute left in the game. You're down by one. Evan Bouchard sitting behind the net trying to control a breakout
which is
for
insane.
20
Like,
seconds.
yeah, it's
So Edmonton played nervous. If I had to point out one problem, at least from this from Game 6, I would say the Oilers just forced passes that didn't need to be forced, and they just took low percentage shots that didn't need to be taken. I get that Florida is defensive and forces those kind of opportunities, but you have that kind of talent. You were there last year for a reason. You're there this year for a reason. It's You got to try and make the most of your opportunities instead of just making it one tease from the point every time you shoot, kind of thing.
I completely agree with you, man. And like, not saying that Evan Bouchard isn't an offensive weapon and shouldn't be shooting a lot, but the fact that he was touching like 9 shots in some games this series
Yeah.
is kind of insane to me, especially when you have McDavid and Draisaitl,
Um,
honestly.
Even like I wonder if there's a way we could find out too. Evan Bouchard's shot attempts this game must have been unreal. I swear every 2 seconds
Dude,
he was shooting the
I
puck.
swear it was Kulak too, was just always up
Yeah,
there ripping the shot. And I like fucking Kulak a lot, but like
yeah,
he shouldn't be shooting as much as he was. And again, it's not a testament even to really the Oilers. I feel like it is more towards how good the Panthers are defensively.
yeah, for sure. I
But
mean, like,
still, you got to find a way, man. Flat out.
yeah, they like you said, even though you got to find a way, they are good defensively. That's kind of the way Florida's game is. It's rubbing off and showing here. Like,
Yeah.
the Oilers last year in Game 7, 1 goal. Game 5 this year, 2 goals. I think one of them was a garbage goal. It didn't matter. The only goal
Yeah.
he got this game was a garbage goal. It didn't matter. Like,
I
realistically, you
was
got
done
to,
watching at that point, if I'm being
yeah,
totally honest with
that
you.
the McDavid goal last game in Game 5 was the only goal in the last 3 games that, or 2 games that actually meant something when he scored it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, not having Hyman hurt that made it tougher to put out McDavid and Draisaitl together because then you can't fall back on as good of a line. I mean, you still could, but having only Nuge to follow it up with Evander Kane, like I
It's
don't
not
know.
good enough of a second line, like flat
Yeah,
out.
for
You
sure.
have to have, and that's the thing that kind of sucked is I felt like losing Nuge, or sorry, losing Hyman rather, really made it tough where you almost had to play McDavid and Draisaitl together instead of being able
Yeah,
to split them up and have them drive their own lines.
for sure.
Because no offense to those two guys, but Forsling, Ekblad, Barkov, and Reinhardt, that four being out there every time those two were out, really
Yeah.
shut them down.
I mean,
And it really showed, especially in game 6, I feel, versus game 5, where Florida had the home ice and they could
yeah.
line match pretty well.
Mhm.
Like having those guys out every time they touched the ice was just absurd.
Dude, Forsling is gonna like go down as a defensive god in Florida's eyes. Like that
Absolutely.
one shift, he stopped two on one passes from McDavid to Perry that were probably both gonna be goals. Let's be honest here. I don't care how
Facts.
good you are. It's a
Facts.
cross crease. You're not saving that really. Um, like two good sticks to make that play. So many block shots on important shots that if they got through, who knows what happens. Um, it's just something you can get through. And even though like you and me both wanted the Oilers to win, we both knew this is kind of was gonna come. I'm not shocked at what happened, unfortunately, but all you got to do is just all you got to do is just
Tip your
give
cap,
props, man.
honestly.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Like, honestly, and this might be an overreaction, but I don't feel like it's even close. Gustav Forsling is the best waiver pickup of all time.
Hmm.
Like, the fact that he's a waiver pickup and is
Uh-huh.
this good, how the hell? I can't remember who it was that put him on waivers, but that's insane that you couldn't see the vision with him.
I
Like, hell of a
I
player.
I'm pretty sure it was Chicago.
I feel like it's either Chicago or Carolina. Those are the two teams that ring a bell
True.
with me.
Hold up.
I feel like it's one of those two. but that's absurd to me. That like
Either
I
one.
don't know. Honestly,
Um,
borderline top 10 defenseman in the game. It's kind of like Jacob Slavin, where if you throw that guy on the ice, he's going to shut down the other team's top line
yeah. Yeah,
or
claimed off
best
of
player
waivers
kind
from
of
the
thing.
Carolina Hurricanes.
That's insane. And don't get me
Like,
wrong, Carolina, great defensive team and have a lot of good defensive options. Let me tell you, Gustav Forsling would be at least a top two defenseman on that team.
hey man,
That's
maybe they
crazy.
would have won a conference final game.
Hey, maybe they would have beat Florida. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's true,
having Gustav Forsling might help that much, man.
dude.
And
Um,
I brought it up in the last podcast where Barkov didn't have any points. Obviously, got some more points now,
yeah,
but even though he didn't score in the Stanley Cup Finals, his impact was just gigantic with those guys
for
out there, I
sure,
feel.
dude. I've like, I was thinking about this a lot, especially in Game 6. Like watching him, I'm like, this guy has got the winners kind of like mojo to him. He's got that kind of that Taves and Kopitar kind of feeling to him, where he's gonna be the next guy that's known as like the guy that won a fuck ton in his prime, kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like if anyone's going to catch Bergeron for the most Selkies ever, I think it's going to be Barkov.
For
Obviously,
sure.
already at three already is a great start, but
Yeah.
he at least eye test wise, I don't know about advanced analytics and stuff like that and like Corsi, that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But the eye test, he is so good defensively and he controls the play so well. It's honestly
Yeah.
so impressive.
Everything filters through him too, and he's when he's on his game.
Exactly.
Having him and Reinhardt on the same line is just diabolical.
Like two top three Selkie candidates, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
absurd.
yeah. Yeah, that's that too. I
Like
forgot
that's
about that.
insane. I don't know how you get
Um,
past that.
yeah, man. It's I don't know how you do either. If we're gonna talk about Reinhardt, what a goal. That was
What a
insane.
goal.
Dude,
Oh my
again,
gosh.
again, what a goal for Reinhardt. I'm so glad he's Canadian. He'll be good in the Olympics with McDavid.
We get to
But
cheer for him at least once in a while, you know,
yeah,
eh? That's nice. It's nice.
but dude, if we're talking about his fast start today, man, the Oilers just got killed by not scoring first, man. I think they scored
Mhm.
first in the first game of the series, and after that, 5 of the 6 games, they didn't, or 5 of the 6 games they didn't score the first goal. They were outscored 13-4 in the first period of the finals. Um, you can't win when you're crawling and chasing from behind the whole time. Like I just saw an interview a couple minutes ago of somebody asking Chris Knobloch the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, is it a mental dagger to or a mental burden to look up and see that you're chasing all the time?" And he's like, "Oh, well, that's not how I look at it," and blah 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 blah. And after a while, man, if you look every single time you look up at the scoreboard and you're the one chasing, it's gonna get tiring after a while.
That's absolute coach speak from him, by the way.
Yeah,
Like, it absolutely takes a fucking toll on you, I gotta think. Like, especially, I get if it's like, no offense to Dallas, but they're not the same defensive caliber team as Florida, where
yeah,
maybe you can come back and stuff anytime you want against them. But
yeah,
Florida's a different animal. This is one of the best teams I've watched in my life these last 2 years. They've honestly been so
yeah,
impressive,
for
especially
sure.
defensively.
It's you know they're the good team when they're always the villain, and every time you watch them, you just know that no matter how bad you hope, it's not gonna go your way. Like I mean, the fact that the Leafs were up 2-0 on this year, like I was way too happy and way too confident. I should have known. Like it's just
Yeah,
not
it's
the way
tough.
that team goes.
They've got
Um,
that winner mentality and they play winning hockey, like flat
yeah,
out.
straight
It's
up.
hard to stop that.
Yeah, I could quote it for the third podcast in a row if you wanted me to, but that Kachuk interview saying that's the type of hockey they play, he's not wrong. Like
He's not.
he's not. Um, to be fair, like if you want to go far in a playoff run, though, you got to have a little bit more scoring than just two players.
Yeah.
11 of 17 goals in the finals had McDavid and or Draisaitl involved in them. 44 of the 82 in the playoffs had them involved. So that's 54% of their goals in the playoffs had one or two players involved in them. Where do you think they went wrong with the depth scoring?
I feel like again, it's you can always pin stuff on injuries, and to be a champion, you have to get past the injuries and everything.
Yeah.
But it really does hurt to lose. I'd say your third best forward, because
Mhm.
that just makes everyone have to move up an extra slot.
Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, like I think these numbers are similar to what was happening last year too, where I don't know what the solution is, but you just absolutely have to have some more depth scoring from your team.
Yeah.
Like 11 of 17 is absurd. Over half your
Especially
goals have two players on them. That's absurd.
especially in a series that matters as much as this one does. It's the Stanley
Yeah,
Cup final. You need to like Pittsburgh wouldn't have won that cup without Connor Sheary scoring that overtime goal or
exactly.
Dave
Having
Bolland
like a
banking in
Brian
the
Rust. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like you have sorry to bring that up, but you have players that like Dave Bolland
pick.
and those kind of things that are like depth players that
Shout out
aren't
to
expected to
Bickle and
score.
Boland,
Yeah.
buddy.
Bickle, I
I
was right,
hate those
right,
two.
right. Bickle and Bolland. Um, Players like that is how you win cups. Um,
Especially when you look at Florida too, where they had three lines that just nonstop, it felt like they were going to shut you down shut you down offensively, yeah.
mhm.
And then also put pressure on you to like as a scoring threat every shift.
Yeah, it's you like have it in our pod notes here somewhere, but I can't remember where I wrote it, but I wrote something. It was like they never just sit back and defend. That's
No,
their version of defending is being down your throat the entire time and right in your face and like dumping it in and you look for 1 second behind you and there's already a guy right on your ass like going into the corner. It's like that is the most exhausting defense in my opinion because you're just wearing the other team
absolutely.
down.
That forecheck, I think Florida is one of the best forechecking teams I've ever seen. Again, I hate to keep saying like, oh, they're the best at this I've ever seen. But honestly, they're a unique construction where they're so good defensively and they put so much pressure on you that it's hard to push back against them when they
For
do get the
sure.
lead.
For sure. And I mean if we're gonna like it's hard in the sense too that every single player that goes out on the ice is effective.
Yeah,
Like and that honestly that's credit to Bill Zito. He knows how to build a team 3 years in a row in the finals, two cups in a row now. Um I mean Marchand's gotta be like one of the best deadline pickups of all time. No, like
I'm extremely biased. Like I'm just gonna turn around real quick and like you can probably see her, but wearing a Marshy jersey for this one. He's the only thing I'm happy about with the Panthers
yeah,
winning. So happy to see him win a cup again. He deserved it after 14 years.
yeah,
But I honestly think he is the best, like, I don't think they're going to re-sign him. So I'm going to call him a pure rental right now.
yeah.
I think he is the greatest pure rental in NHL history.
Dude, uh, you can get 8 goals in a playoff from a rental, and that's a solid rental, let alone 6 goals in the final.
Yeah,
Like,
like 6 goals in the
um,
final is a hell of a number,
dude, for
flat out.
sure. I think at least 2 overtime goals this playoff too. At least
Yeah,
that I can think
I
of.
I can remember the Leafs one, the one in the
Yeah,
Stanley Cup final here too in double OT.
yeah,
At least like that's absurd. That's such
yeah,
good
man.
value. And
And
I know it's a first round pick, and a first round pick can be quite a bit, but I doubt we're gonna be looking back at this and thinking, wow, Florida
yeah,
could have really used this guy instead of
for
Brad
sure.
Marchand for that cup run, you
I mean,
know?
would you rather have a first round pick that is a 75% chance of being a roster player one day on your team or winning a back-to-back cup with a guy who scored four of your 6 final games?
Exactly. It was worth it and more to the
For
Panthers
sure.
there.
I don't think that's even a question.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, speaking of Bill Zito, um, Marchand, like we said, one of the best deadline rentals of all time. Seth Jones is Seth Jones again. He's not playing on the Blackhawks. I feel like we all saw this coming. Um,
Him turning
get
up the second he left.
yeah,
Yeah.
gets
Yeah.
out of the organization where he's not obviously not having fun. There wasn't a time for a second where there wasn't something going on with Seth Jones and the Blackhawks, I swear. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
but now that he's on a good team, he's playing like a good defenseman. He's playing like he did in 2019 against Tampa again. He's becoming that elite defenseman again. I I don't want to jump the gun, but I think he'll be an elite defenseman again next year.
I think so too. And I think one of the big things as well is he's, yes, an elite defenseman, but he's not counted on to be like their only good defenseman kind of thing, like
Yeah,
he was in Chicago. And he was like one of a couple of good defensemen in Columbus, where I feel like that's where he thrived, where he wasn't the de facto dude,
for sure.
where having Gustav Forsling along his side going forward here is going to make a
Yeah,
world of a difference. And potentially Ekblad, I don't think they'll re-sign him because I think someone's going to give him quite a bit of money in the offseason.
yeah.
But like just having those three as your top three defensemen, that's very good
It's
and makes it a lot easier for the rest of the three.
for sure. And I mean, it makes sense why this year was just if you can win a cup with the decor you had without Seth Jones, and then you add Seth fucking Jones to it, like obviously you're gonna be pushed even more over the top.
It's gonna
Um,
take you up that extra tier almost. Like
yeah,
just yeah,
but Zito knew what he was doing. Six players with over 20 points in the playoffs this
absurd.
year. Three players with over 10 goals. They're tied. I saw a stat too. They're tied fourth all time for most goals in a postseason,
It's nuts.
with the Oilers from 1984.
Yeah.
Just to rub
And
salt in the
you know
wound.
it's crazy when you're getting to like you're tying teams from the 80s.
Yeah, with
That's a
Gretzky on
different
them.
era of goals, man. Yeah, with
Yeah, yeah.
Gretzky on them. Like that's crazy.
It's crazy.
And then add the fact that they're that good defensively. Like it's an all-time team, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
one of the best all-around teams of all time. Um,
Yeah.
and to see, like, I remember the day that Florida signed Bobrovsky, and I laughed out loud. I was like, "Oh my God, this
Oh,
contract
me too.
is gonna be awful." And now here I am. What is it, 5, 6 years later, and we're like, "Well, there's Bobrovsky's second cup in a row. Like, he's a
Might be
stud, man."
underpaid at this point, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like
if you have a decor like you have and a goalie like that, how are you gonna lose games? Like,
exactly.
um, they're built they're built to win in playoff series. And I saw a thing too. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Jonah Gadjevich. I can't remember. It was somebody that came into the Oilers or the Panthers system this year, talked with Paul Maurice, and Paul Maurice said like we we play like this game is the finals. We play like the game in 10 games the finals. They play like every game is the finals. So when they get to the playoffs, they're just playing their normal game. That's why they're never panicked, never like in over their heads, they're never nervous. They just play their brand of hockey like they do the whole regular season and nothing changes. And they just
Yeah.
wear you down.
And they just play calm and confident because of that, I
Yeah.
feel. And
Yeah.
that's the two words that I feel like describe their play so well. And aggressive I'd also throw into there. It's not a C
Yeah.
word, unfortunately. I wish we could say it's like the three C's kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, they just play their game so effectively and they make teams play their game. Where I feel
For
like
sure.
that game where Edmonton got blown out, it was really a testament to how well they made Edmonton play their game.
Yeah.
Where it was so chippy and Edmonton was taking so many penalties.
Hmm.
But even when it's not so beat you in the face obvious that they're making somebody play their game, they're still making them play their game.
Yeah.
It's
And
they just impose their will all the time.
the second you bend over and step over the line and start playing another team's game is when you're starting to lose.
That's
You
when
know
you're
what I
in
mean?
trouble. Yeah,
Um, it's I could say it with the Leafs, like when your team starts doing things they don't usually do and start practicing for things that the other team does, like example, against the Leafs, um, they just kept ripping pucks in for the defenseman to get on their backhand because the Leafs weren't as strong of a team on that, and they knew that was their weakness. And how many goals, countless goals off of turnovers because our defenseman couldn't receive it on the backhand on the dump in kind of thing. Or this series where the Oilers couldn't do shit along the walls because Florida was just that's the game they play is along the wall. They're the best team in the league at it, right?
exactly. And they find different ways where I saw, can't remember who it was on Sports that was breaking down in the Carolina series how they one series, or sorry, one game rather, were going in with two guys along the wall, and like every time Carolina would chip it up the wall, they took the puck from that.
Yeah,
And then they figured that out. Carolina figured that out, and that's when they got their win. And then the next game, Florida's coming back and changing up their game to counter that so effectively,
yeah,
where Carolina's kind of boned and can't make that change on the fly.
for
And I
sure.
feel like it's a testament again. I always thought Paul Maurice was a little bit of an overrated coach. And
Yeah,
then I really like saw kind of these deep dives into his like at least the Florida Panthers system this series or this playoffs rather.
yeah,
And it really showed that at least him and his staff, I assume it's not all Maurice and it's part of like the
yeah, yeah.
film group and everything like that. But they do such a good job of finding weaknesses in team game, like you're saying
It's
with
insane.
the Leafs on their backhand. Like
Hmm.
all those little things, and they fucking hammer home on that. They make sure that that's what's killing you is those little details.
For sure. And coaching staff does more than people think. Like, I mean, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, Florida wouldn't play like that if they were under Joel Quenneville or somebody else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
No shade to Joe
that was,
Quenneville. I'm sure he'd figure some out too, but like it'd
yeah,
be a
yeah,
different style.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I mean, maybe that wasn't a good example to use because he's won 3 cups, but still.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
oh my God, I think Joe Quenneville would probably figure out a way, but I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
But it's yeah, like you said, calm and confident. They never back down. They're always on the attack, which is the most suffocating thing you could have.
Yeah,
Um, Sam Reinhart, that's kind of the thing I keep going back to, man. I know that two of them are empty netters, but 4 goals in a cup clinching game. First time that's happened since Maurice Richard. So I can go to show you how long ago that was.
yeah.
Um,
And man, I at the start of the series, what we were talking about was would they really need Kachuk and Reinhardt and Barkov to like take that extra little level up?
mhm.
And not that they were playing bad again. They were playing awesome. Like there's a reason they're in the cup finals here. But man, Reinhardt the last couple games and Kachuk the last couple games, they were just different
Yeah,
animals.
it,
Like
it's
flat out.
it's crazy. Like I saw a stat too, or I didn't see it. I just kind of was looking at it, but Reinhardt in Game 7 last year and Game 6 this year had a cup winning goal and 5 goals in those 2 games where
That's
his team
insane.
won the
Like
cup.
flat out. Yeah.
So
He rises to the occasion so well,
for sure,
honestly.
I mean, you win the cup 5-2 in Game 6 5-2, and you have 4 goals. Like,
Not again, not saying that he was playing bad, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came out and he was like dealing with like a wrist injury or something like
yeah,
that because he wasn't scoring at the pace that you kind of come to expect after what
for
was it,
sure.
50, 60 goal
Even
season kind of thing there. Like,
yeah, even in the Four Nations too. Like, it could be a lingering thing too, because he wasn't really himself in the Four Nations either, in my opinion.
mhm. And again, maybe that's just not having the chemistry with the guys kind of thing, but I do agree
Yeah,
with you where it didn't feel like he was playing as well as I thought he could have been. But
for
big
sure.
moment, he's there. He's being
Yeah.
himself again, flat out.
If someone asks you this question for your honest opinion, putting all hatred and feelings aside, is Florida a dynasty yet?
I have okay. The way I look at it, the most recent dynasty is the Blackhawks, 3 cups in 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that 3 cups in 5 years is kind of the threshold. I would give you 3 cups in 6 years, even kind of thing.
Okay.
But I would consider Florida a modern dynasty. It's
Yeah,
it's flat out different since there's been a salary cap. It's not going to be the same as the old days.
for sure.
The fact that you can
Um,
build this good of a team still under the salary cap is
yeah,
so impressive, especially with this much sustained dominance. Um, I would consider them a modern dynasty, but not like a
yeah.
typical dynasty, if that makes any sense.
I would, it's hard to say. Like, if we're gonna count them as a dynasty, then I say you give Pittsburgh or Tampa that title too. And even though they won
So
back-to-back
fair.
cups, even though they won back-to-back cups, I still wouldn't count them. Because
That's
like
fair. Yeah.
back to back cups, but like a dynasty is when you're good for a while. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
think even though they made the finals 3 years in a row, even if they make the final and lose next year, then I'd be ready to give them that title. Um,
I could agree with you on that, where they got that 4 year run where it's that way.
yeah, but
I do feel like they're another year away.
the modern day dynasty, I definitely do get though.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
uh,
just purely a different world than when like those old Habs teams and the Islanders teams and the
yeah,
Oilers teams were building those teams. Like
yeah,
it's just a different world with having a salary cap, honestly.
for sure. Sam Bennett, Conn Smythe winner. We both called it. I almost went with Bob, but I changed my pick at the last second. Um, what else can you say about the guy, man? Even if I think he's going to resign in Florida, my
I
heart hopes
don't.
he goes to Toronto.
Oh
Um,
shit, eh? You really want him now, eh?
yeah. Oh, dude. 2 straight
Hey,
cups,
I'd be
Conn
okay
Smythe
if Boston
winner.
gave him 10 mil now, man.
Yeah,
Let's
dude. Like
get him on that line, bro.
the guy just wins 2 cups in a row. Conn Smythe winner, Four Nations champion, all in the last 2 years.
And
Um,
in the caveat of being a Four Nations champion, he was a
yeah,
contributor and got that game tying goal
for
off of
sure.
Marchand's
Yeah,
or
dude.
Marner's
Marner's feed.
assist kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
He sniped though. Like
dude.
he rises to the occasion so well, honestly.
Yeah, honestly.
Hate to quote Paul Maurice, but the guy's a gamer. He's such a gamer. Oh my.
Um, if you're Bill Zito and Bennett's camp hits you up and says, "Yo, I want to stay, 10 mil, take it or leave it," do you give it to him? And
I
if
feel like it's
not,
hard
what's
to
his
say no.
contract look like?
Like, okay, we've discussed it. like as friends at least. I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but like I was grossed out by the thought of giving Sam Bennett $10
Yeah.
million. dollars.
Dude, that was like
I
a
would,
month ago.
yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat now. I would
Yeah.
do it tomorrow. Boston
Yeah.
wants to give him that contract. We'll take him. I'll buy his jersey tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah.
But
Dude,
like, it's he's really just shown these last couple weeks that like he deserves that money.
100%, dude. He takes out goalies, bro. You want the backup to
Well, I
play
don't,
in a series? You've signed Sam Bennett.
dude, that's a skill. I will give it to him. That's a
Yeah,
skill.
bro.
Being able to
Eh,
like take out a goalie and not get suspended, it's an impressive skill.
if you think about it, the kids that were born in like 2016 and don't know the Chris Kreider lore or think this guy is the Chris Kreider of the NHL.
Yeah. That's kind of weird
Like,
to think about, eh?
yeah.
I feel a
Like,
little old thinking like that. That's
yeah.
tough. That's tough.
Um, I mean, hey, that's a little sneak peek of what we'll talk about in our offseason episode. Kreider and
Yes,
the
sir.
Ducks. Um,
That's crazy, man. Oh,
Not
can't
seeing him in a
believe it.
Rangers jersey is gonna be a little bit weird, but I'll save that for next pod. I'll save that for next
Yeah.
pod.
Hey, next
Um,
pod, can we pull up a picture of your dad too so that the viewers get to see how
yeah,
similar your dad looks to Chris Kreider?
yeah,
We'll have to get a picture of your dad going for
dude,
sure.
100%. Um, Man, I like the Oilers and I love the Oilers, but you got to tip your cap, man.
Yeah,
Some of the most unbeatable hockey in the salary cap salary cap area, yeah, sure, salary cap era. Like I said, three finals in a row, two cups. Um, they won 10 games by 3+ goals in the playoffs, including seven of those were by 4+ goals. Um, Scored 6 goals in 6 times this playoffs.
it's unreal.
Just crazy. Like playoffs are meant to be are known as those games that are always low scoring. Scoring 6 goals 6 times in one run is crazy. Um, Another stat too. Since Game 5, the second round against the Leafs, um, they uh, had 5 games where they scored 6 goals.
Mental.
Since then.
Mental.
So before the first half of the playoff, they only had one. In the last half, they had five. So it's just crazy offense. I don't. I wish I could sit here and break it down for you, but I honestly don't know how they pick apart teams like that. Like they're just that team that scores when they're not supposed to, and that's
Yeah.
how you win.
And I feel like obviously I can't pick it apart either. It's probably a bunch of guys who have a higher hockey knowledge than we do who are
Yeah.
figuring out how to do this shit. But I do think one thing that really stands out to me is again having three lines where it's like it feels like they have three first lines.
Yeah.
I
Oh God.
It's truly incredible how deep that team is. And their fourth line, it's not like it's a bad fourth line where it's like, oh, we're gonna pick on that line for 8 minutes a game.
Yeah.
They're solid enough where they can hold their own and keep like the boat afloat for a little bit and get those
For
next three
sure.
lines going where they're gonna go score what I think like everyone had a 20-point scorer on it. Like that's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be
I gotta
shocked.
stop using the word absurd. I keep spamming that word, but it really
It's
is.
it's
That team's
absurd, bro.
truly incredible. It's
It's
absurd,
truly
bro.
absurd.
It's absurd.
It's crazy.
Nah, but honestly, truly incredible, man.
Um,
Great playoff run for him.
for sure. And like along those games where like what's that thing called? The deserve to win-o-meter. Even though they didn't
Yeah,
on lots of games, I guarantee they did not deserve to win. They won those games, got those goals the times they needed, got the saves when they needed. Their defensive game, like we said, is so sound. Like they shut you down and glue you to their system when it matters the most. And after that, it's just like a boa constrictor. It's getting tighter and tighter,
yeah.
and then you have no air left.
It's over. You're
Um,
sitting there fighting it. It's over. It's true as that,
um,
honestly. And I feel like Edmonton did a good job where they got two wins out of that still,
yeah,
where like they came back. Or I'm misremembering now, but they got that one OT loss after coming back with like a minute left. That
yeah.
Perry
The
goal.
game four, I think.
I think game four, yeah.
Yeah,
And but they did a great job of being
or
able to
maybe.
fight that and being resistant to Florida shutting them down, but
Yeah,
still
yeah.
it wasn't enough to beat them.
I can't remember which game it was because it was in Edmonton, so it wouldn't have been game four. Maybe it was game two or
Was
game
it game
five.
five then? It had to be game
Yeah,
five.
yeah.
It's,
Because game two was Marchand's double OT goal, right?
I think. Oh no.
I'm
I should really
pretty
remember this,
I'm
eh?
pretty sure it was. Yeah, yeah.
I'm wearing his jersey. I should
Yeah,
really
Big
remember.
Marchand guy over here.
Big Marshy guy over here.
Um,
Holy.
we're gonna talk about a guy similar to Marchand, kind of our last bit of Panthers talk here,
Yeah,
but
game two was the Marshy winner
yeah,
in
yeah.
the double OT.
Matthew Kachuk, love or hate the guy, hate him against my team, drives me nuts when he plays the Leafs, but dude, absolute warrior. Um, what
Through
did you
and through.
say it came out again about him? I didn't write it down.
Tore his adductor off the bone, which I don't know how that's possible that you can skate after that.
Yeah.
Because at least this is my limited gym working out knowledge. I'm pretty sure that's the outer part of your hip kind of thing and like the outside of your thigh,
Oh,
which if you think about that while skating, that would suck. That would be
dude.
terrible. Like that would just blow, to be frank.
Oh my
Like,
God.
and then apparently had a hernia on the same side as his torn off adductor,
Dude.
which again, how
That's
are you skating?
that's
Like
crazy.
how? What?
Um, I don't think that is hockey right there for you.
Facts.
I
That's some
don't know if
Patrice
it's
Bergeron playing with a punctured lung type stuff.
dude, literally.
That's
Yeah, it's
some,
like
yeah,
yeah, man. Or like
that's
Nate
some pure
Mackin,
hockey player.
dude. Just straight up goated shit, man. I'm not sure if any of those injuries or which one or if any of them occurred during the Four Nations final because I remember he sat out for the six
Yeah.
minutes there, but or the played the 6 minutes there, but dude, and like 2022 when they lost to Vegas, played with a broken sternum, couldn't even put on his shoulder pads in game 5, had to get somebody else to do it for him. Like as much as you hate the guy, that's unreal shit.
He truly defines what a hockey player is. As
For
much as
sure.
I can't stand watching him play against my hockey team, man, he is truly an incredible hockey player and really personifies the culture of
For
hockey as a
sure.
sport. No offense, Stuart Skinner, because I think he's a little overhated, but man,
Yeah.
he just does not show up in the biggest moments.
Dude, that third goal was one of the
Terrible.
dumbest goals I've ever seen in my life. Like, respectfully, what were you doing?
Just terrible, honestly.
I don't. I watched the post game availability with him. Like, he said he tried to catch it in his shoulder, but like it looks like he just chest bumps it out into the slot. I,
Which I why are you trying to catch it in your shoulder? It's
yeah,
a shoulder,
it's
not a
yeah,
fucking
it's
glove.
the puck is up in the air. Like, I I
Yeah.
I don't get how that's a goal you can let in the final. As
I don't
soon
get how
as
that's a
he,
thought you can have too. Like I
yeah,
don't know. I know it's a stupid thing to say, like, oh, it's a shoulder, don't catch it with your shoulder.
no,
But
but
like,
it's not.
what is
Yeah,
your best case scenario?
literally. Um,
I
as soon as that puck went down in the slot, I was like, oh my God, they're gonna score off of this bullshit. And then they did. And I was just
yeah,
like, dude, like it's I know he had his moments through the season or through this postseason that he was good, but man, like he just could not make the save when it was the most needed. I get that he was clutch in some games, but when it's most needed, your team is down by 2 and you still have a chance to win this game. If you don't win this game, you lose the Stanley Cup.
you need some
Like
saves.
you
Just
need those
flat out.
saves. Even the first one a little bit. I do get that it was a breakaway, but that's not a
I
good
get that it
angle
was
for
a hell of a
Reinhardt.
play too.
Yeah,
And but
but
yeah, I do
you
think he has to save it.
you have he has the angle advantage in that every like 10 times out of 10 in my opinion. And
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, I get it. It's one-on-one player versus goalie, but like a righty going down the left side with a defenseman draped all over him is you have the advantage. So
absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe that I'm not a goalie. I don't play goalie. I've never played goalie, so maybe I'm wrong to say that, but I
The
feel
way
like
I
it's
look at it too is like he didn't get all of that shot either. Like it wasn't
yeah.
like an absolute nip where it's going complete top shelf out of absolutely nowhere and you don't have time to save that. There was
Yeah.
time to react. It wasn't a perfect shot and you have the angle. I think you have to make that save.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree for sure. It's a little brutal. Um
Yeah.
man, what's next for Edmonton? If you're Edmonton, what's your main focus this offseason? I'm pretty sure we all know what the answer is, but I'll let you still say it.
I think there's a consensus number one answer.
Yeah,
I think you have to bring in a goalie of equal caliber to Stu or better. Like
for
flat out.
sure.
You cannot have a drop off from Stu to your backup goalie. You need the ability where if Stu is shitting the bed, to have someone where you're like, I feel good about him being in a playoff game.
For sure. I
I know that Calvin
definitely
Pickard was somehow 7-1 this playoffs, but I don't think he's quite good enough of a goalie to win you a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, he looked really out of place in game five, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I don't even think it
Um,
was his fault that they lost that game. I think they played like ass, but
yeah,
he just wasn't good enough to get you the saves that you needed in that game.
for sure. I'm just looking here at people who goalies who expire this year that don't have an extension.
I think it would
Um,
have to go through the trade market because it's a really
yeah,
weak free agency goalie class.
for
But a
sure.
guy like John Gibson, I think they should be
That's
absolutely calling about.
yeah, for sure. And he had a good year this year too, didn't he? He kind of bounced back a
Yeah,
bit,
he
didn't he?
bounced back, especially with like
Um,
not the greatest defense in front of him. I think his numbers were plenty
yeah.
respectable, and his cap hit isn't that crazy anymore.
And like if he goes back to the way he did play, he can be a starting goalie. You
Absolutely.
know what I
I
mean?
think he is, if peak John Gibson re-arrives, he is a good enough goalie to win you that cup. I think it's insane that they didn't go after Linus Ullmark this last offseason.
Yeah,
Like, there's a couple big free agent goalies on the trade market. I think it's a little crazy that they didn't go get a guy.
for
They
sure.
had
And I
the
feel like
opportunity to.
that's I feel like it's been known that since last year that's their kind of thing they had to go after too, and they still kind of just ignored it, which
Yeah, it's not like
doesn't
it was an
make
absolute secret. Like,
yeah, it's
it was,
like
it's been known.
for sure. And I'm so sorry, man. I just have to say this once as a Leafs fan every time I hear about that. What the fuck was Don Sweeney doing?
What the fuck was Don Sweeney doing?
Hey, but you have him for 2 more years, so maybe he'll fix his reputation. Okay,
Dude,
this is
I don't
about the Oilers,
understand
not the
how
Bruins.
you took Jonas Corposalo back in that trade. I don't know. I don't know. But no,
It's
but that's
okay.
exactly what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't like it was a crazy package. Let's just assume Corposalo doesn't have his garbage contract and is like a
Yeah,
solid backup goalie. That's
yeah.
still not a great package for Olmark. I don't see
Mhm.
how the Oilers could not have outdone that.
For sure. It's, no offense to Ottawa, but I feel like the Oilers have more assets than that to give.
I got to think. Like, I think a first and a third is comparable to what Boston got back. If you
Yeah,
want to say that Kalistick was worth a third round pick kind of thing.
yeah,
And let's just say a first, third, and a good prospect, like a decent enough prospect. I think that gets the job done. And I
for
think they should
sure.
have absolutely done that.
And you both fix your problem. I mean, at the time,
As much
Boston
as
had fixed
Boston
their
could have.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So if you're talking about what's next for Edmonton, honestly, I don't want to talk
Goaltending.
too much about the goaltending because we all know that's just the number one answer. That's the one that everybody's going to default to.
Yeah.
Um, we're talking about depth scoring. A lot of the depth scoring they had this playoff was from Corey Perry. He's an upcoming UFA. Um, I gotta
He's a little
say it.
cursed.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. A little cursed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, dude, all good. 5 of the last 6 years, he's lost in the final. He lost in
Yeah.
the first round once.
Oh, wait, you're mute. You're mute. One sec. One sec. You're mute. You're mute.
Hello?
Oh, I can hear you now.
That's staying in. I hit the mute part
Let's
with my
stay it
nose.
in.
I hit
How'd
my.
you mute yourself?
It's like a button you press on the end of my mic, and my nose hit it.
Oh, shoot,
It's
Ed.
not
That's
like a click. It's
hilarious.
just like a.
A
It's
little
like an
tap kind
like
of
yeah. You
thing.
know, like the old Xbox Ones where you just like rub your finger over it and it would turn on. It's like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's interesting.
Anyway, Corey Perry, Trent Frederick, and Connor Brown are all upcoming UFAs. Same with Kapanen, Jeff Skinner. All those forwards are UFAs. Then they got Klingberg, Stetcher, and then the big one, Bouchard. Um, if I'm Edmonton, in my version, if I'm Edmonton, I personally try and bring back Frederick and Brown and Perry. You can let the other guys go like Jeff Skinner. Maybe if you want to keep Kapanen, you could, but he's not a huge deal. Love the
Yeah.
guy, but he can go anywhere. He can be an effective player anywhere. He showed that.
Yeah.
Um, I think you got to prioritize Bouchard because he's one of your big three. Um, I think with the cap going up and letting those players go, you can get higher end depth players that are like third liners instead of fourth liners kind of thing to push you over the edge a little bit more. Again, like we
Yeah.
said, one of Florida's strengths was having good players on every single line. Don't get me wrong, all of those players are NHL players and better than me, so they're good at hockey. They're good at NHL players, but would you rather have a fourth liner or a third line scoring forward who's can play on your second power play unit if needed or something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Like just to kind of compare lineup to lineup, would you rather Connor Brown or Ito Luostarinen?
Yeah,
Which I can't say his name. That was probably a terrible
we all
pronunciation,
knew what you meant.
but Luostarinen,
Yeah, there you go.
that's gonna kill me that I cannot get his name right no matter how hard I try. But Ito,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, honestly, breakout star of the playoffs for Florida there. But just like that one-to-one comparable of like elite third liner versus again, no offense to Connor Brown, I think he's a great
Yeah.
player, but just
Hey,
like it's
he was
not the
like
same
Lost
caliber
Arena in
guy.
last playoff. He was that
Yeah,
guy.
exactly. And even
He,
started this playoffs, he was kind of that guy.
yeah,
And but just down the stretch, it wasn't quite the same thing.
for sure.
Where hopefully with the cap going up, they can kind of build around like those two lines and build a little
Yeah,
bit better of a third and fourth line going
for
forward.
sure. Um, I don't want to give my predictions away too much for what they're gonna do because we have a whole another thing coming with our next couple of pods of saying what we're gonna do for the off season, but um, it's scary in Oilerland, I think. I know a lot of people that are Oilers fans and they all seem nervous, including yourself. Or your second favorite?
Yeah, second
Um,
favorite team. I am a little nervous going forward, but I will also say this, the core is still there. Like
for sure.
Draisaitl and McDavid, they're gonna resign. I know
Yeah.
people like always talk about like, oh, McDavid's gonna go back to the Leafs. He's a Ontario boy. No, he's gonna resign.
No,
And
he's not. I'm
honestly,
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
he's gonna resign. And I honestly think it's gonna be like not team friendly, but like not so insane where it's like you can't build around him kind of thing.
Yeah,
He's gonna make his money, but it's not gonna be insane.
I agree. I think he's gonna stay. I don't think there's a really point in him leaving if he's been the captain of that team since he's 19.
Yeah.
You're not gonna leave. Like, and I get the whole Gretzky thing. He left, but he didn't leave on his own terms. Nobody's gonna trade McDavid in this day and age.
If you
Like,
really want to go down to
um,
it, it's apparently an NHL conspiracy that they just wanted him in a big market in the USA. So
the
you
Gretzky.
could really, yeah,
Yeah,
Gretzky.
I
If
heard
you ever
that
heard
too.
of that,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I'm not a conspiracy nut, but I could kind of see it. I see the argument
I buy it too,
a little
especially
bit.
nowadays too, where they're pumping American markets full of
Exactly.
too. Like I could see it even more, but no, I'm just kidding. But I think he'll resign. You're right. I think the core is there. I think Bouchard's gonna resign. If
Yeah,
they can get a competent goalie who's actually good and can win them games and steal them games, and your core is a Stanley Cup caliber goalie, Bouchard, Draisaitl, and McDavid, that's gonna be hard to beat.
that's a good enough team to win the cup. Like you got Wallman, you got Ekholm, you got Nurse to support Wallman on the
Yeah,
or Bouchard on the defensive end there too. Like it's not like you have a bunch of scrubs around them. You've got a really solid foundation with Hyman, Nuge on the forward front too,
yeah,
where I do think they're just a couple pieces away from really getting over the edge
and
and maybe just not having Florida be so dominant.
yeah, and like honestly, the Oilers, I've never seen a team in the last 2 years get criticized so much for being one win and two wins away from winning the cup.
Yeah, like
So
it's
like
kind of absurd.
if
Like,
you get a goalie, in my opinion, if you get a goalie, you're one win, one goal to tie it, but two goals away from winning in last year. You're one
mhm,
game away or two games away this year. If you have a better goalie and a goalie that, hey, maybe makes that save on the Marchand breakaway in game two, then who knows where the series is, right?
exactly. I think it really is just going to be kind of filling in the little gaps that they do have right now. But
Yeah,
realistically, going forward, they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender next year rather, no matter
years
what
to
they really
come.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you've got
I
such a good
think
core.
you're a playoff team with those two players on your team, no matter what, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then they
Um,
have good pieces around.
Facts. Like it's hard to you need a supporting cast to a point, but you can also rely on those players to a point, if that makes sense. If you can find
Yeah,
that perfect mix, then you'll have your perfect mix kind of thing.
I do want to ask you this question real quick.
Yeah.
For Connor Brown's career, if you were Connor Brown, would you resign with the Oilers or would you go somewhere to try and build up your value a little bit more?
See, I think if I'm Connor Brown, I'd probably want to sign like a 1 year deal because
I do agree. Just no
the
matter what you do.
the Oilers are going up. Like you made the finals 2 years in a row, and they're going to be back in the playoffs on a deep run, I'm sure, again next year. I would say you sign a 1 year deal with Edmonton. If they keep you down in the lineup like they are, then you go somewhere else because he did that with Toronto. And you're right, he did that with Toronto, left, went to Ottawa, and then was way better. And then now goes to Edmonton, he's better again. Like I could see it, but I think with the current status the team's in, and he's not like a superstar, so he can't really like control the team kind of thing. I think you give it 1 more year just based on the fact that you have a good chance again. After that,
Yeah.
if they even if they lose in the final again, I was obviously something's not working, so I think you jump ship then. But I think if I were him, I'd sign 1 more year and go from there, kind of thing. What about you?
And I'm assuming team discount if you are re-signing with Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would to a point. Like the cap is going up, I'd probably just sign the same
Yeah.
deal. Or what's
Which
he making right now?
I think he was like 775 this year. I could be wrong. Maybe double check that
Yeah,
for me, just in case I'm
yeah,
wrong.
that does actually
But
sound.
I know he was like absurdly cheap for how good he is,
Uh,
which I understand the vision absolutely with trying to run it back. And maybe he'll do that 1 more year, but I do think I do like what you said with like 1 more year with Edmonton on kind of a team friendly
yeah.
deal and then trying to build up your value elsewhere.
So I forgot this. He actually did that exact thing last year on
Yeah.
July 1st, 2024, and signed a 1 year deal for $1 million. So maybe he does leave. Maybe that was his one season he gave the chance to.
I feel like a team could overspend on him this year. Like with
Yeah,
the cap going up and with him having a little bit of a track record and having a really solid playoff run until like I feel like the final two rounds he wasn't quite as good. I feel like a
yeah,
team could spend on him quite kind of big and try and build around him a little bit.
for sure. Um, Even like a team like Utah,
Yeah.
like
Third liner, second liner kind of role there where
for
he gets
sure.
some potentially first line power play time
Yeah,
and
implements
maybe
himself
second
in a
line.
new franchise. Like definitely gonna be on PK1 on that team. Um,
Yeah.
that's I mean
Cement
that
himself as a foundational piece kind of thing, maybe potentially
for
there
sure.
too.
One more thing I would say too is do you re-sign Klingberg? Because he was scratched for the last 2 games before this one, but like knowing him and how he like kind of reacted to things, I kind of feel like he was injured for the last 2 games and it was like a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
He's
I I personally feel like if as long as the price tag's not crazy high, I would personally love to bring him back.
for sure.
I think he is a great sixth defenseman. Just
It's
looking
a
at that
yeah.
lineup,
I was just gonna say
yeah,
that's a good sixth defenseman with a lot more skill than a sixth defenseman would have and experience.
yeah,
It just depends if he can stay healthy, kind of thing. I guess maybe that's why you would re-sign Stetcher or look for somebody like Stetcher to fill out that
yeah.
seventh role, just so if you're uncertain with him, you have a guy who's the same caliber and good enough to play in the NHL with him because you're almost expecting him to not play some
Miss a
games,
little
kind of
time
thing.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially if
And
the
I'll
LTIR
give
thing's not changing, like he can sit there for the last half of the season if he needs to.
yeah, and you can get a little piece at the deadline for him, or
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
with his cap there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this as well. They do have Emberson, who I believe is an RFA, where
Yeah.
maybe he is that kind of seventh defenseman where he fills in when
Yeah.
needed.
And he's
And I
young
think
too,
that'd be
so
a good
he
show.
could develop into that too. It's only
Yeah, he could
his
make that
what
jump.
second year in the league or third year now, I guess, if we're gonna count like the
Yeah,
start of next year now.
I think so.
But
I think he's around there.
yeah,
And really solid. Like he's not like a superstar or nothing, but good enough sixth defenseman kind of thing, you know?
for sure.
That's the way I look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sad day for Canadians. Um, I can't say I didn't see this coming though. Like you
I
said,
can't either.
it's just an all-time team, to be honest with you. Um,
Yeah.
Perfect from top to bottom, from head coach to janitor, just an unreal organization.
Shout out to the janitors in Florida, eh?
Yeah,
There's some dogs over there.
yeah,
Holy.
cleaning up rats all day. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see how the off season goes. We'll be back in a soon with some more off season predictions here. We got a fun little thing, a little bet going here for the next one. So make
Yeah,
sure to stay tuned.
we'll get some predictions going and we'll see we'll have a little punishment action at some point during the off season here.
For sure.
So
Little
we'll see how
sneak
that
peek, little
goes.
sneak peek.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for taking the time of the day to listen to the Rust Bucket Central. Any last words, Brad?
Thank you for joining us this season, even though it was for 3 episodes this season.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, and I hope you stick around with us more. And next year we'll have more bigger and better content here.
We got a high bar of 3 episodes to get past for next season, so some unreal content
Exactly.
is coming your way, fellas.
Hell yeah.
All right. See you later, Brad.
See you, buddy.